Hello and welcome to another episode of Property-Pxrn, the premium property podcast, brought to you by your hosts David Lindley.
And I'm Matt Giggs.
And today our guest, our star, is none other than Marie Fritz, who is the Managing Director of Buyer Design across Northamptonshire. So Marie's operated in the premium property market there and led the market there for well over 4 years now. And now she's running her own estate agency business, taking the market by storm. She's got a combination of absolutely first-class service levels and an approach to service, which is really interesting, which we'll hear about more today. Some widespread marketing and some incredible property presentation skills as well, which we learned about recently too. So Marie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming. So let's start with your story into agency, where you've come from geographically, where you've come from as well as where you've come from in a career sense, and how you've ended up to be where you are today.
So I'm from Canada, not America, for people who can't tell the difference.
Does that annoy you when people get it mixed up?
I do sound American, so I don't take it personally, but 90% of people think I'm American. So I'm from Canada.
Do you ever get people who actually, like, they can really tell the accent? Is there a subtle difference? They go, oh no, you're Canadian.
A few. But the other people who can hear it, it's because there's a softness to it compared to Americans. But like when I listen to myself on the phone, I sound American. So I don't take it personally. But yeah, so I'm from Canada. I've been here for probably about 8 years now, in the high-end estate agency sector I started Connells like 8 years ago. That was low end. And then I went to Fine & Country and now Buy Design. So I've been in the property industry for a very long time, but in the upper quartile, probably about that kind of 4 years, like you said. I've always been in the customer service industry, from 15 years old working in Canada. I had my own photography business as well before doing Fine & Country, and that was a luxury high-end photography estate company as well. So I've always dealt with kind of that level of customer service, giving that higher end, what people expect when they pay those kinds of prices, whether that's photography or estate agency.
And we did some green screen filming a while ago with the guys at PVS Media, with Chris and Matt. And you said something there which kind of stuck in my mind when we were talking about what you do and your approach and so on. And you mentioned like a Canadian approach to customer service, and it kind of stuck in my mind. What did you mean by that?
It is chalk and cheese when you take places like Canada and America to, England. And not that there's anything bad, it's just a very different culture in terms of customer service, where in England you go to, a restaurant, you're not expecting the biggest thing, you're not expecting them to go above and beyond, you give a small tip and that's it. But in Canada, you live off your tips, and people are happy to pay 15-20% tips, sometimes more, if they get the service. But if you don't give the service, they are very quick to complain, very quick to give nothing. And when you make less than minimum wage on your actual pay, you live off tips. So that kind of culture is bred into you, that you need to give that level of customer service, go above and beyond for people, because that's your livelihood. It's just a different culture.
And how does that approach to customer service then relate to what you do in estate agency? Because obviously that's in the hospitality sector.
Yeah.
How does that relate to a mindset, your tactics, the day-to-day practice of what you do in premium estate agency to convey that level of service?
I think it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're working in a store or you're selling cars or you're selling property or in photography. It doesn't matter what you do. If you are customer facing, the first and most important thing is your customer satisfaction. What's important to them? What are their pain points? What are you fixing for them? If you can get to that, the rest will come. But I think a lot of people in these kinds of industries are in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it to make money, and they want the nice car and this and that, and their focus is on getting loads of listings and ticking that box that I've got the list, and they don't care about the customer. But when you do that, you might get the quick win, and then in turn the long-term gain is not there, because you don't get referrals, you don't get that word of mouth, because people didn't appreciate the customer service. There was no customer service, and they can tell you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So in any kind of forward-facing job, you have to be very, very honest with yourself that if you're doing it for the right reasons, you'll succeed. If you're not going to succeed. And it has to be what's important for the customer. How can I make it better for them? How can I take away some stress for them? It's all about them and what can you do for them.
Wow, so you're right into the mindset of it. It's like, and how does that bear itself out in practice then, when you're obviously it's customer focused rather than, I've heard the term like commission breath before, and I think what you're talking about maybe is the opposite of that.
I think that's also the reason people hate estate agents in this country. Canada, America, Australia, you need a certification. You have to do a qualification. So people look at it as a proper career and they look up to you. Here, I mean, anybody can wake up tomorrow and be an agent, which means there's a lot of us and tons of bad ones, some good ones too, but majority are just really, they don't care about it. They clock in, they get their monthly figure, and then, you know, whether they make an extra 50 quid on your commission, they don't care. So there's no, every time I speak to customers, if I'm the second agent or the third agent sometimes, and I always ask, what's your biggest pain point? Communication. They haven't heard from their agent in 2 months. And I'm thinking, that's your biggest asset. How have you not heard from your agent? And that's the commission breast. That's, you know, if the client's not important, let's just make money. And it just doesn't work. So it's a very different mindset where my clients, they pay more for me because they know that they deal with me. And, you know, I will always pick up the phone. It's just a different relationship. And if we worked the way we did in America, Canada, Australia, everybody would be bankrupt. It just wouldn't work. And you speak to people over there and they can't understand how we work, how it takes so long, how people pay so little fees when over there's 5-6%, and here, you know, we're 2.5%, and people have a hard time with that sometimes. So that culture difference is so different because customer service is the number one thing in all those countries. That is what you pay your estate agent for. And here, I mean, Boris Johnson was compared to an estate agent during COVID, wasn't he? We're all the same. We're car salesmen, and people have no respect for us. So I'm trying to kind of change that and bring in that customer service level that they should come to expect, that comes with a higher fee, and just try and change the world of estate agency a little bit in our area. So we're not all the same.
I'm sold.
I love my job.
No, you know what? I mean, like I said, we're not going to struggle, are we, today in this interview? Passion comes through, I think. And, you know, I was going to say about customer experience or customer service. And I think experience really is what I feel that you provide. And I think service is something that I think people try to provide. So it's, and what I mean by that is experience is, when you think of an experience, you're going to give an experience that carries more emotion. Well, I think service is something, teaching people customer service, it doesn't sound quite as exciting. I get it. I totally get it. And I think what you've done is you've come from a country and a nation or a conditioned mentality around why that's so important. Yeah. Not just from an experience perspective, but from a business perspective, from consumers coming back long-term rather than short-term. And I think it's one of the things that if agents really tap right into this and dive into it, it becomes the difference.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, because the advantage of being in this country and doing what you've just described is you're one of the few rather than one of the many.
Exactly. And my accent helps, right? It makes me stand out, one, and then they listen. And then when I am able to speak to them, they see the passion, they see that I love it, and then I do something different, and then they buy into that. And then people tell people. So it's hard in a way because you're trying to change an estate agency world that has no regulations, right? Until it becomes law that you need a certification, until it becomes law that certain things need to be done. And yes, we've got the property ombudsman that we can, you know, complain to, but there's nobody training these agents. There's nobody putting specific guidelines in place. So until that's done, it's very hard for somebody just like me to change the way it's being done. But in kind of my area, that's what I strive to be. I want to build a team that, and this is why I took the job as well, is that I want to hire people who have the same mentality. I want to create a team that we are known for something specific. And it is, oh, they do it the American, Canadian, Australian way. Like, that is what a estate agency should be. We need to change it in our country. That's why I want to build that, because I know what I want as a top level.
Training that in.
Yeah.
You've kind of answered the question, I think, about how do you do that?
I think a part of it is your personality.
Yeah.
You know, you can't train, you can train customer service, but you can't train somebody to care. You can't train somebody to be genuine with,
I've found that. It's like pushing shit uphill, trying to teach some people to actually give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
In the nicest possible way, sorry.
No, but it's true though. I can give the ropes to somebody,
they
but
do not get it.
If it's not in your core that you want to help people and, you know, we were saying before is that what brings us joy is helping people.
Totally.
So
That's
if you're
got
not
to be
that
the
type of
main
person,
focus, yeah,
you can be a great agent. You'll never actually succeed though.
There's a lot of people I know that have worked certainly around my organisation in the past, and they would consider themselves to be people that wanted to help people. But one of the challenges they had is they also like to please people.
Yeah.
And pleasing people isn't great customer service.
There's a balance.
Tell me about the balance.
So again, being a younger female in a male-dominated industry, sometimes I don't get taken very seriously right off the bat. And that is something you need to assert in yourself. You know, like you said, just giving in is not good customer service. They are paying you to be the expert. And in the upper quartile, what we're dealing with is not people just working at the restaurant and all that. We're dealing with CEOs, business owners, multimillionaires. These people demand respect, but they also seek somebody who can make them give respect.
Totally.
They're not going to do business with somebody who's not got a backbone, and they go, oh, I want to put my house on for £200,000 more than it's worth, and go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Because, I mean, it doesn't help me. I'm putting marketing money, and I know it's not going to sell. So sometimes I've had to really be quite stern and say, that's not how it works. I'm the expert here. This is how it works, X, Y, and Z. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. We're not compatible, and I will walk away, and I wish you the best of luck. And then they kind of stop and go, oh shit, okay. She knows what she's talking about. She's got a backbone. Yeah. I'll respect her now.
So I think anyone listening to this should just rewind 30 seconds and listen to that again. The power of no and walking away, or being prepared to walk away and challenge a client, it gives you so much credibility.
Yeah.
And that credibility actually gives you so much self-belief.
Yeah.
Yet the temptation for most estate agents in our country is to just take the listing.
But that's bred into us. I started with Connells, like I mentioned, and I'm very glad I did it because it gave me the kind of base of everything that I built. Because before that, I hadn't done any estate agency. Sorry, I'm talking quite fast. But my goodness, the whole system is so flawed because you go in at 7:30, you leave at 7 p.m. I was doing 60-hour weeks, and they don't care about people. It's, where's your 15 vals this month? Have you done your 10 mortgage appraisals? Why do you not have 5 listings? Why do you only have 1? You know, I remember coming back from a valuation. I had been gone for 2 hours. My boss looks at me and goes, valuation's supposed to be an hour. Where are you? Where were you? Going, if this little 80-year-old lady needs me to be there for 2 hours, I'm going to be there for 2 hours. So it's very numbers. It's, you know, and I remember I was planning my wedding. You know, I was pregnant at the time as well. A lot on my plate. So for like a month, I wasn't hitting my targets. And I had the top, like not even my boss, but the boss's boss calling me going, Marie, what's wrong? You're not hitting your targets. You need to hit your targets. So it's constantly target driven. So we're born and bred in estate agency of targets and not customer service. And that's where the problem lies, is you've got these people who don't care.
Now, I train around the country. I've trained some brilliant estate agencies, and I've got some booked in for this year with companies that are now really struggling to get the best out of, or the best results out of their team, because they have pretty much provided complete autonomy.
Yeah.
So the freedom's been there to show up, do what you can do. How important is it to still focus on numbers, but to get the balance between numbers and service or experience?
Yeah, I mean, in business, if you don't know your numbers, your business won't grow. Like there's a balance where you need to know numbers so that you are tracking your progress. You know you're doing well. You need goals, not a huge goal, but smaller goals that you can hit and keep going. But when it becomes only about the figures, only about the target, that's when you take on the bad listings. I mean, with Connells, I was taking on listings that were ridiculous because they were overpriced. They wouldn't sell, but it got my boss off my back because I got the listing. That's not how it should be. And I knew that was wrong, but it was so much pressure from everyone. And I was actually one of the top 3 earners of the entire south of England in Connells. So the pressure from, I don't know if it was the managing director at the time, but he was calling me personally because I was being seen by the top and they were keeping an eye on me. So that pressure from everywhere means, yes, you're doing business, but it's not the right business. You're busy, but not the right busy. And it's quick win, but it's not a long-term goal. It's not a long-term win.
So you see in our industry, certainly as the higher you go up, the more emphasis from recruitment is focused on how much you can earn. You can earn 6 figures.
Yeah.
We were talking about this.
You can earn 250,000.
Drive the Ferrari.
All you need to do,
Yeah.
and it sounds brilliant. And believe me, I've applied. I've applied. But
you're not driving the Ferrari yet.
I'm not driving the Ferrari yet. I think what's refreshing about you, Marie, is the fact that I always think if a customer was listening to you, what would they say? And I try and encourage people to think that way when they're doing their jobs day to day. If a customer was listening to you, what would they say? You know, if you were the buyer and that's my seller, what would the seller say to me about my negotiating with that client?
Yeah.
And I think if you kind of have that mindset about helping people, which is obviously what it's all about, but also getting the focus on the numbers from a trajectory point of view, looking at, you know, how you want to operate as a business so you can scale your operation, but equally where to focus, what to focus on. It can help so many of us to grow our business. But do you think that the monetary side is actually not attracting the right people to the premium end of the market? And how are you going to battle against that? Because I'd work for you.
Thank you.
I would.
Well, I'm hiring. If you're looking, I am hiring.
Maybe not yet. But no. But the point I'm making is that it seems to be the most, like when you look at a recruitment advert or you listen to recruitment posts, the top column is normally how much you're going to earn.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm a great believer that the best times in my business have been where we've known the numbers, because it's the language of business, but we've really focused in on the experience.
Yeah.
And we talk about experience and all of those metrics on a regular basis. And the numbers always look after themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing. If
But how do you get that across?
focus on the experience, the numbers will come.
Yeah.
And that's why not all business is good business. I will happily walk away and turn away. And I say to people, I will represent 6, 7 properties at once. After that, I have a waiting list. Because if I had 15, I personally wouldn't be able to give you the level of customer service you deserve, which is what I hold myself accountable to. And I think I'm my own worst enemy, where sometimes, you know, my husband will say, you don't need to reply tonight. They're not going to die. Reply tomorrow. And I'm going, no, but it's my level of customer service. I need to reply. I've seen it. I'm available. Why wouldn't I reply? So I think for me, I'd rather do less business, but good business. And when you're looking to hire, I think the money side will always bring people. And that's why when the interview is you know, going along, it's not your standard interview questions. You're trying to understand what type of person he or she is, and if they're going to fit in that mold of, you know, the customer service and all that. And if you put all your focus on fixing somebody's problems, and every seller will have a different pain point. You know, is it, I don't know, the lack of interaction with the estate agent? Is it they don't trust? Is it this or that? If you can find what their specific pain point is and fix that, then they will recommend other people. And the money will come, but you have to do it for that right reason, and then the money comes later. If you're just doing it for the money, buyers and sellers, they're not stupid. No. They can read you like a book, and they can see that you're just in it for the money, and you don't give a shit. You will literally, all roses, you know, all of that at the valuation, and then you'll get the listing and gone.
So what I'm picking up here are what your values are.
Yeah.
And how important identifying those, being clear on those beliefs, those things are going to be for your next hire. So when you're going to be talking about it and that growth phase which you're going to go through, which is great, I'm going to go into some other stuff in a minute, it's got to be about those values and those behaviours and that particular mindset that you refer to around experience and service. Just before we go into that, because obviously I want to endorse the fact that if anyone is listening to this and they're in your area and they want to get into they should get in touch, especially if they align with your values, because when you are aligned with people in the workforce, it is super powerful. And I know that that's something that we don't put enough emphasis on when we're recruiting, because I think sometimes we hire for jobs, not for culture, which is a good thing. Just going to take you back down a peg just for a second, not in a horrible way, but it's hard, right, being on your own in business. And you will have had, I'm guessing from my own personal experience, some real challenges over the last 8 or 9 months in the most recent phase of your premium estate agency journey. What's your default way of handling the darker moments? Because we all have them.
Oh, yeah. you can't control the first thought that comes in your mind, but you can control the second. That's where...
Great. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, use it. That is where real success comes from. You have to be able to use any kind of anger or stress or fear to your advantage in the right way. And, it's not an easy job. And I'm not going to sit here and say everybody can be an entrepreneur. They can't. It is hard work. You have to hustle, and you have to be able to put the time and the dedication. But that's why your why is so important. When you ask somebody, why do you want to earn money? Is it to have a nice car? Is it to put your mum in a home? Is it to feed your kids? Because when you understand somebody's why, you can see how dedicated they're going to be because they have something really strong pushing them. So to be an entrepreneur, you need to be able to, put your own times in because nobody's there giving you, okay, 9 to 2, you do this and whatever. But you also have to have that drive to go out and get rejected, be told no. If you stop at, 10 no's, you're never going to make it in this job. You have to have tough skin, and 99% of success, or success is 99% failure, I think it says.
So I heard something recently, and it's about joy or happiness, and that if you set that as a goal, you'll end up being more disappointed. And actually, it's the journey, it's the process where the joy and the happiness really is. And I'm really connected to that because I think a lot of the time when I've hit business goals, it hasn't really lit me up as much as putting a deal together with a client I really, really want to help, or seeing someone complete after a really tricky transaction, or watching someone that I've mentored achieve their goals. They're the things that have really lit me up rather than the end of the goal. But we are encouraged to focus on the goal, and that's where the joy will be. So in the moments of darkness, what I've always realised is that's just a builder. That's like another block that puts you into that place where you're going to have the strength and resilience to move forward. So
I think, and we've all had it, right? We've all had it where we've worked 7 months on, a deal and it falls through and you're going, crap, I'm not getting paid for 7 months of work. It sucks, and we've all been there. But if you let that then put you in a big dampener for the whole week and, oh, I'm not good and this and that, then you're not going to get new listings. You just have to the 5-minute rule. Be angry, be mad, be sad, scream, swear for 5 minutes, then forget it. That is it. Move on. It's happened. You can't change it. Why are you still? And that's why people have this fear of door knocking. What are you afraid of? Being told no? Okay, well then that's one step closer to a yes. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. But people have such a fear of failure and being told no and rejection. And it shows because the good agents aren't afraid of that. They actually take it in their stride. But the bad agents will cocoon themselves and wait for phone calls to come in. And then they'll quit because they're not making enough money. Well,
I think that's it. And if the client was to say yes to you 100% of the time, in every scenario, they wouldn't need you in the first place. No. So the no's are the point.
Absolutely. And actually, we were talking about that earlier, that the biggest and most successful companies, their secret is that they have failed quicker and more than others.
Yeah. Fail hard, fail fast. As we
fail
said
hard,
earlier.
fail fast, learn from your mistakes.
I was listening to an interview with, I'm sure it was Jeff Bezos, and he was talking about all the things that Amazon do. And the reason Amazon are so successful is because they fail more than any other company. And they were saying with AWS, which is like their whole web, massive division of their business, was one of about 100 experiments. 99 of them absolutely went to shit. This one flew and is in it, even as a division of Amazon, is bigger than most businesses are today.
But I think it's such about that mindset shift. And there's I heard something the other day about some of the worst CEOs rate themselves the highest. And some of the best CEOs or leaders or managers rate themselves the lowest because they're always looking to learn. They're looking to fail more. So they'll always be looking at their failures as an experience to learn from, but they'll always be looking at themselves with improvement gaps rather than I've made it. And I think that's where great agents seem to be found for me. It's when I talk to the agents and their openness to learning is the thing that I'm always curious about.
Growth mindset, fixed 100%, mindset, isn't it?
I want people around me that, I ran a training session this morning with 10 agents, and I got 3 or 4 lessons from them this morning.
Because you'll learn as well.
Exactly. I could have sat there and gone, I've done this 28 years, worn the T-shirt, teach you all what to do. Don't get me wrong, shared some gold this morning, Marie. But if I'm honest, but if I'm honest, I've got 2 or 3 things out there. I was like, that's freaking brilliant. And I make sure we tell them. But I think it's if there's an agent listening to this, there's a lot to take away already. And that bit around fear and how you can use it as fuel.
Yeah.
Can I get a bit tactical for a second? So we've gone for the biggest picture in mindset. So let's just talk about service quickly. So not bashing Connells, but just from what you said there, if you contrast the service that you would give a client in Connells versus the service that you give them now as you're running your own business and by design, what does that difference in service look like? What are the things you go, this, and this are clearly different? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind you said was that you've, as is so common with some of the guests we've spoken about, capped the number of instructions and clients that you work with. But how else does it manifest itself? You
know, what's funny is that my actual customer service that I give hasn't changed from now to Connells. That's probably why I was one of the top earners, is because you can't take that out of me. I've always, it's my personal goal to like make sure that client is taken care of. And, you know, it's a deeper level than just, getting the paycheck. So I actually think that I still was the same type of agent, whether it was Connells or now. It's just that now I can, because I'm my own boss, I can be more kind of cutthroat on who I do business with, who I don't. A lot of the business in Connells I wouldn't have done because it just was pointless, like I said. But now I can really refine it and go, you know, I don't think we're a good fit, and that's okay. Like, do you like everybody? No. So not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. If you're not going to like me as a person and you need to deal with an agent for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you prefer that other person, go for the other person. You need to like who you're working with. And so sometimes I like to be able to just, that customer service level, just put on the right people, not just everybody. And that's why I was burning out, because I was doing 60 hours, trying to help everyone. I would get to the office on a Thursday or Friday. My boss would go, who's working Saturday? You'll do this viewing, you'll do that viewing. I'd end up doing viewings on houses I'd never seen. So I'd go half an hour before, trying to not look like an idiot, just to, you know, understand the house a little bit. Because my core belief is you need to know a house to sell a house. You know, how old's the boiler? When was it serviced? How old's the window? And agents don't know, because they're chopping and changing agents doing viewings, and it's this 18-year-old kid doing viewings, opening a door, going, yep, that's the bathroom. Great, thanks. You know, can't answer any questions. So it's that kind of, I didn't like that. I hated that. So my clients were passed on. I remember getting, and I had really good fees then too. We called it our rate card, and I think it was like 2.18. And that was constantly what I was getting in Connells, where they're all the same pretty much at that level, right? And so I would get my listing, and then other people do viewings. So it's not my vendor. I can't take care of them. And then I'd get an offer, and it would go to my manager. And he'd negotiate it, but he's never met my vendor, never met the buyer, never stepped foot in the house, thinking, how on earth are you negotiating that to your... There's no way you're maximizing that sale price, because you don't know what any pain points are for anyone. You don't know what the benefits of the house are. And that's just, all of it is broken. So it just means you never get to connect with clients. So that's what I like now, is that from start to finish, you know, I become friends with them. I had a lady, she was a Fine and Country client originally. So when I left, she was under offer, and obviously they have to continue it. But I went to see her over Christmas. She's 74, alone. You know, we had a nice afternoon of coffee. I bought her a terrarium, kind of like plant thing, and she'd never had one in her life. And she's like, I'll think of you every time I look at it. And it was so sweet. And she's like, if you come to the Cotswolds, you, husband, kids, you know, you have somewhere to stay. And that's the relationships that I like creating. You know, she'd been trying to sell her house for 3.5 years. I was the third agent. And she said, nobody compares to you, Marie. It's different. The way you do it is just different. And, you know, that to me, it means the world.
And there'll be agents listening to this again that will connect with you, and there'll be agents that won't, right? And actually that's equally important, because everybody should be authentic in the way they should run or operate their business. But that experience, and talking about the tactics, how do you go about then attracting your ideal client?
A lot of them are word of mouth now, which is great. And it means that you don't struggle so much with fees either, because you've got somebody who's like screaming your name. Usually they don't even ask the price. And if they do, then you negotiate a little bit, but it's not, you know, it's nothing like the 1% agents that they don't just care about the fee. So that is
ballpark. What are your fees?
So I often get 2.5, because I am a 2.5% agent. My average will be kind of 1.75 to 2%. That's ballpark. But I mean, the last 5 houses I had when I was finding country, 3 of them were 2.5%. And then the other 2, I think, were 2%. So I pride myself on being kind of up there. And I will happily say to somebody, you know, and they negotiate, you know, that person's doing 1%. You know, I want you to do the same. And I'll go, I put too much time and effort and I know I'm worth more money. So I would walk away at that price. So I'm happy to negotiate something we're both happy with, but I'm not the 1% agent. If that's what you're expecting, that's fine. Yeah. Call me when it hasn't sold. Yeah. And then, you know, they usually do. But yeah, so it's just, it is a different, I forgot what was the question originally. Attracting those people, clients. Yeah. So you want to attract the people who value those types of things. They value customer service. They value, and I'm like, sometimes you can joke with these people. If you know and you can read people.
I've done that wrong.
Yeah, don't joke with the wrong people. But sometimes I'll look at them and go, so that 6-figure Land Rover you have in the front, did you buy that at the Honda? Yeah. Or where'd you buy that? Did you pay Honda prices for that?
Yeah.
I'm the Land Rover.
Yeah.
And I'll joke like that with them, but that you have to see how those people value things. What do they value? Try to get into that kind of mindset of, okay, well, I'm that type of whatever you value. And those people, if you put out the right content, you put out the right, that you have that confidence, that's the type of people you deal with. They will be attracted to you.
And the key is people will pay for it.
They will.
I think that's the belief system that a lot of the country, or certainly estate agents in our country, is they don't genuinely believe in themselves first.
That's the
problem. They don't value what they do themselves. You're sitting here, and I think you probably think you're at least 2.5%.
Yeah, but you have to deep down believe it. And you go, no.
It starts
I know
with
I'm
your
worth
confidence.
that money.
Absolutely. Yeah. But no, that's great. So do you go on social media and share videos and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
just for the people listening.
Stories sell. So people listening, stop posting about your market share. Stop posting about like all of these.
I got his pen out again.
Sometimes it's okay.
Let's make sure that's
okay.
Market share.
But most of it is stories. People buy into people, and that's why the amount of people I have who call me and go, "I've been following you on social media for a year," and like what you said, David, they don't they don't comment. No. You do not know who's watching you.
Yeah.
So you have to be consistent. And they go, you're different. I like how you marked. I want you to sell my house. Great. I don't even have any competition with any other agents. I just go in, swoop. Here's my fee. Thank you.
They want you.
They want me. They've already bought into me. So that is a big thing when you're looking for the right clientele.
Long term.
It's the long term. And what agents forget is when they have a sale go through, they forget about them. Mm. But those people are going to be your clients in 4, 5, 6 years. So keep in touch with them. Merry Christmas. How's it going? 2 years in. Just manage those people and you will have reoccurring business.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack there.
Just coming back to fees, how important is it that two things. One is capping the number of instructions. How important is that to your fees? And secondly, how important is it that you are giving a cradle to grave market appraisal through to completion? It's you throughout service. How important are those two things, and what else is there that makes that fee so attainable for you?
Those are super important. That's what people pay for. They are happy to pay for certainty. People don't like uncertainty. So a lot of people will get this, the business owner come out and value their house and they go, he was so nice. And then they list it. And then it's like the 18-year-old kids who've never done it, who are the point of contact. And they go, this is not what I signed up for. People don't like uncertainty. They will pay more to know that you are the person you're dealing with the entire way. And I'll sell it to them, go, the only person you should speak to is me and your solicitor. That's it. We have a WhatsApp group with you, your husband. 9 p.m. Monday, you have a question? Pop it in the group. If I'm awake, I'll answer. If not, I'll answer the next day. But knowing that they have one person takes away so much stress. And just that raises your fee, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll say, how often have you called an office, spoken to 5 different people? Joe will call you back. 3 days later, he calls you back. 2 weeks later, you still haven't heard feedback from your viewing. And they go, yeah, that's all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Pain point, fix it. I'm your one point of contact. Done. Things that, 7, 8 listings. A lot of times, agents want 20, 30. And I say to them, if you haven't, okay, COVID was different. If you hadn't sold in 2-3 weeks, something was wrong, right? They were flying off. Now it can take 3, 4, 5, 6 months for properties to sell. You know, they price it too high, they come down, all of these different things. And I say to them, what do you think your agent's going to do when you haven't sold in 8 weeks and they've got tons of new listings? You go right to the bottom, they put all their attention at the top, and you hear from them once every 2 months. And that's the other problem, another pain point. They feel like a burden every time they call. They don't feel important. So by taking
They feel abandoned.
feel abandoned. And then they go, why am I paying this fee?
Yeah.
You know, I could be doing myself. I could just pay to, you know, go on Rightmove and that's it. So by having only 6, 7 and then having a waiting list, I'm guaranteeing them you will have me the entire time. I will work my ass off to make sure that you are completing. If it falls through, sometimes we can't, you know, stop those things. It's out of our control, but I will not stop until you have completed. And people will wait for me until I'm done with you. So that kind of level of, wow, I'm important, you know, that again raises that value. So there are different things, even things like getting paid on commission. I've spoken to a lot of agents who go, oh, I'm afraid to say that to the seller. Why would I tell them that I only get paid on commission? I'm like, but that's a huge selling point.
Yeah.
My drive is much higher than somebody, i.e. like Connell's, where I got my pay. I think the largest commission I made was like 100 quid. Do you know what I mean? Do people care about 100 quid when they're making their 18 grand a year and they have their paycheck every month? No, because it's not a lot. It's not enough to incentivize. So I'll say to them, I get paid on commission only. If you don't sell, I don't put food on the table for my kids. Make it personal. It's not about the nice car. It's about the kids. Putting a roof. I'm a real person just like you, and I've got kids to feed. So my motivation level to get you sold is one, but to get you the best price, you know, I'm going to fight for that 5, 10K because you win, I win. You lose, I lose. So again, that's the third point that brings your fee up, is that they see us as car salesmen where we don't care because we get our pay and that's it. If you can switch the conversation to, I'm on your team, you have somebody who's looking out for your best interest, you're not just a number, and you win, I win, you lose, I lose. That then brings us both together where there's no, you know, animosity of, oh, they're just doing it for the wrong reasons. And so again, third point is trust. They don't trust us. That you've just ticked the box of showing trust. So find the pain points of the current market, which there are so many in this country, and fix them. And people will pay the higher fees. It's not rocket science. You just have to believe that you are worth that money and that what you offer is worth that money, is worth being different for.
Changing the subject completely. So it was something that you said earlier about being a woman in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
And something happened to me yesterday, and it's like, for Matt and I, this is something that we can't really relate to because we're on the wrong side of this. I was speaking to a woman in an estate agency yesterday, and we were talking about something completely different. And we were talking about another agent. And she said, oh yeah, I really like working with him. I never get any inappropriate remarks or anything like that. And I was like, fuck, it kind of stopped me in my tracks for a second, because we were just so far down another level talking about something else. And then that was how she was like, rating
someone. Yeah, because
and
we
I was like,
have
oh
to
my
think
God.
about it all the time.
Yeah, and it really threw me off track in the conversation. I was like, oh my God, that was the first thing that came to my head, not whether this person was good, bad, or indifferent at their job. There was that base level. And I said, Christ, the bar's low. But it was front of my mind after yesterday, and then you said about it earlier. But how does that manifest itself? What's your, come back to mindset, what's your mindset around it? How do you find that impacts your business, your day-to-day? What do you do? And what advice would you give to other women in a estate agency around how to circumnavigate those challenges as well?
There's so much to unpack there. But being a woman in this industry, you have to be thick-skinned and you have to have a backbone, and you have to almost not trust yourself, but know that you're worth it more than a man. And I know that sounds bad, but for men, they go in and, you know, especially like these men who've been doing it for 40 years, suit and tie, they will relate to a lot of these types of sellers who want that. They want somebody, you know, male, white, suit and tie, and they go into that. But for us, it's like garages. Bring your car to a garage. They'll see a young woman. Oh, let's take advantage. It's the same kind of unfortunate mentality where you have to be able to really know that, no, this is not how it works. I know that I'm worth it. I know that this is how it works. And if you don't want to listen to me because I'm a woman, that's okay. Yeah. But you have to have that extra step that sometimes men may not need.
Yeah.
So it's just, having that backbone of being able to stand your ground, say no, and command the room, really. If you're, with a little 7-year-old lady, you could probably talk about her dogs and her grandkids for half an hour, be her best friend and get the listing. You're talking to a CEO who likes numbers. He doesn't want to talk about his dog for 20 minutes. That's not how you're going to win the listing. And you have to be assertive with him and know your place. That you are on the same level as him. He might be a multimillionaire, but I'm the expert here. You listen to me. If not, that's fine. I'll walk away. And that is really important. But also knowing the people you want to do work with. So I've had it once where he didn't say it in so many words, but basically he didn't choose me because I was a young female. And the person he wanted was, because he was about 70, white, and he wanted this white man who was in his 60s, who had been doing it for 40 years. And I went, it's okay. Because in my head, I thought, I don't want to work with you anyways. If you're racist, sexist, like, thanks, but no,
See you
thank you.
later.
Yeah. And I had another person where I had been chatting to him for months to try and get his listing. And he made a joke once on WhatsApp. I still have it, where I don't know how it got to that. And he said, so I guess no date then when I come and see you. And I went, cut. I don't need your house that bad. I will not be dealing with those kinds of no, you're like, why are you even, you're 60, I'm married with kids. You're asking me if I want to go on a date in a joking way, but it's not a joking way.
Yeah.
So then you just need to know when to cut it and when to go, that's fine, move on.
Do you think it's a bit like we were talking about estate agency earlier, about the fact that it's very easy to be different?
Yeah.
And actually, if you use the mindset that you've just shared as a woman, because we really can't understand or empathize, because we just can't. We've just got a completely different way of growing up.
Yeah.
We're it's different. You'd be wrong to say you do understand. It's how you then respond.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think,
rather than kind of use it as it's the reason why I'm not going to. It's actually, no, I'm going to turn this round and use it.
Everything in life is that, though.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, you get these people who go, oh, poor me, this shit happened to me, oh, this person screwed me over, I've had that, everybody's had that. It's how you actually turn that around and go, okay, how am I going to let that affect me?
You're allowed that for 5 minutes, aren't you?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Be angry. But when somebody does that, if you are your own victim, you're never going to go anywhere. You just need to get back up, and it's how you react to things. And we all have bad times. Just react differently so that you can move forward.
Absolutely.
And okay, I say that as an easy thing. It's not.
It's not. No.
There's so many podcasts you can listen to, mindset and positivity, and what you put out in the world, you bring in, and all these different things. But it really comes when your core belief, and if you can believe that, for me, I hit a stumbling block, and I go, well, my goal for by design is much bigger than that.
Yes.
And in 10 years, will I remember that? No. So why let it bother me? Just move on, and let's make that goal that we want, and not stop on these tiny little things that some people, it breaks them.
I think as well, it's very important to align your actions, your thoughts and behaviours. So in other words, if one of those things is out of kilter and you're in that mind where your thoughts are negative and you're using that's become more than 5 minutes. You're in 15-minute mode, or it's actually 2 weeks
Days,
now that's sat in you. That actually can really affect your behaviour.
Oh, 100%.
And your actions.
Yeah.
So actually, how I try it, and by the way, I think the further you stretch yourself, the more challenges come your way.
Yeah.
It's just you see the challenges rather than the difficulties. You just see them differently. They come in, they can stink. I've been scammed. I've had all sorts of things go on in the last 11 years, which you could really write a book about some of this stuff. And I've probably let a few of them go way over 5 minutes. And I know when I do, I let that then affects my next conversation, or it can affect my next decision.
Yeah, because you do it in anger or in
So I think
resentment.
that's a real takeaway for me, is the 5-minute rule. I like that. So sorry, I don't know where I went with that, but I thought about that again. But that's a real powerful way of using the female. You could be negatively deemed as a woman in estate agency. There's probably two schools of thought. It's how you respond.
Yeah, exactly. And the amount of people who get angry with road rage, let's say, and somebody cuts them and they get angry and they let that ruin their entire day. They are in a bad mood for somebody they've never met, they will never see again, for something that happened in 1 second. The entire day they ruin.
But that control of your own thoughts, it says a hell of a lot about someone. And how that person responds. Like when you're interviewing someone, it's a really good thing to try and get them onto the difficulties to see how they reacted, how they responded. Most people react, right?
It's a real cliche, but that road rage thing, I heard something once where it said, imagine, I'll get the numbers wrong, but the point is still there. If every second in a day was £1, you have something like £86,000. Say you start your day with £86,000. If someone robs £10 out of your account, someone cuts you up on the road, you wouldn't just throw the remaining £80,000 away. Like, just
I heard
accept
that
it's
too,
gone,
actually, the
and
other
then just
day.
move on with it.
And time is your most valuable asset. It's the one thing that we can't get more of. So why are we letting people steal it for such stupid reasons? Where then, like you said, it affects your everything. In your whole day, your choices.
I think as well as the awareness is the beginning of this, because I think, you know, when you find yourself in a low state, a low mood, it's because you've been thinking about something you can't control. And when you're in that place, it reflects the next things that you do, or you react. So I think for agents out there at the minute, when they perhaps don't get the listing, or the customer says no, not the computer, the customer says no, they let that affect them for more than 5 minutes.
And it goes into their self-worth and their self-belief, and then they go, oh crap, I lost that, I lost 5 in a row, I'm shit, I'm just gonna stop doing this job.
I had a conversation with someone last night about it. Absolutely, about this very thing. He's been doing brilliantly all month. He had one bad reaction to something about getting an appointment rebooked in or whatever it was, and the guy was like, I'm going somewhere else. And I said, do you want him as a client? Because the reaction didn't deserve. The way the person reacted could tell you quite a lot. And then I said, what was the value? He said between 800 and 900, but the guy wants it closer to 9. I said, mate, you know what to do, Dave. Send him a nice message, nice clear message, because he's assertive, be assertive back, then back off and see the reaction. And I think it's easy to let your emotions rule your efforts going forward. And you can control those things if you've got a clear rule.
And the thing is, you have those people who, you know them in your life, they strive, that's the word I think, with stress. You know, high stress jobs, they do better. When they have no stress, they forget things, they're bad, they're not on the ball. And they're in high stress and they're just, because when you're in stress or when you have that pressure, you are getting outside of your comfort zone, you are learning things, you are on, and that's how you become better. So if you stay in your comfort zone, you will never ever become better.
Agreed.
You've got to push yourself out, and it will be no sometimes, but actually this is why a lot of people in sales have the same type of personality. We want, like, we're hungry, but you also have to have what we said before, that compassion for the client, but you need that hunger. If not, it's
the combination
not
of the
work.
two.
No, exactly.
I had another cliche quote for you, second one of the day.
Come
back to what you just said there. So there's no growth in your comfort zone, there's no comfort in your growth zone.
Exactly.
And I was like, yeah, that is true, because you can choose one or the other. You can be comfortable and not go anywhere, or you can be uncomfortable and drive your life forward.
But as a human race, we're not meant to be comfortable. That's not what we're meant to as people. We're meant to be pushed. And you know, whether it's the gym, you're meant to be pushed and to get out of your comfort zone.
It's that's so true. And I think one of the things, like, especially January, we're in January, people are looking to get fit. Okay. The hardest thing isn't in the gym. It's putting the trainers on. It's putting the shorts on. It's that bit that you win. And there's the mental battle that you have with yourself, isn't it? It's not 5 minutes. It's probably 5 seconds where you either give yourself a choice to roll out or roll into your year, you know. And I think it's that mental game. I think estate agency is so mindset driven. It is really mindset driven.
100%. And if you don't have that right mindset, you're not going to make it. And there's so many estate agents that you have to have something that keeps you going. And this is why it's important to know your why. Why are you doing it? For me, it's my girls. I need to make sure that I can put food on the table, this and that. What is your why? Because if you don't have a why and you just want to make money to buy a nice car, you're not going to stick at it because it's not the right reason. But
the fact you know your why and you're clear, the clarity with how you operate and how you think, you know, that I've not met many people with that amount of clarity. So, and that shines and radiates. I think even people that are listening in their car at the minute, they'll feel that. And I think that's something, that's an energy that I think if you're out there and you're in front of someone in a lounge, they'll feel that, and I think that's so important.
But that's why I said they can read you like a book. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, they'll read you.
Read it.
But if, like, when I go and I'm talking and I could say, I say to them, I could talk for hours. I hope you see that I love my job. For me, it's not work, which sometimes that work-life balance struggles because I love it so much. I can't wait for Monday. It's not, oh, thank goodness it's Friday. It's like, I've got so much to do on Monday. So it means that I can take it home too much.
Is there such thing as a work-life balance?
Yeah, I don't know. It's more like work
seesaw,
balance.
Isn't it?
But, because I love it, people see that and they know that I'm genuine, and it all comes out to...
I think work-life balance is more appropriate to people that don't enjoy their work.
Yeah.
Because you need to balance it off.
Yeah.
If you enjoy the work, why do you need the balance?
Yeah.
I mean, how much of a privilege is it to do what you love? One of my wife doesn't listen to this, so she should do. But not anymore. Not if I say this. But she's always saying, "Are you working?" Yes, it could, or a 5-star review. Are you working again? Are you working? So it just doesn't feel. It honestly does not feel like work.
But it's all, if you actually kind of break it down, it is kind of a nonsense. The whole 8-hour workday, I think, was Henry Ford in the last 150 years of millions of years of evolution. Like that, actually, what that work-life balance
that was
mathematically means is kind of just fabricated by one guy.
But I think it's also in the Industrial Revolution and manufacturing and all of these different places where people they would clock in and clock out. It was work, and there was the split of balance because as soon as you finish, you're finished. And I think what's happened with social media and the use of devices and everything else, you have to be careful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of how much time you're spending on these things, and I'm guilty of probably spending a bit too much time.
Yeah, there's a rule that because I've been this year, one of my big things is self-development, where it's always been a big thing, but I want to really push it this year. And most big multimillionaire CEOs read on average 60 books a year. That's more than one a week. I mean, they are multimillionaire, multi-billionaire, top of their field, and they still find reasons and the belief system that they can get better, they can learn new things, they never stop learning. So that's really important, whether it's books or audio podcasts or audiobooks or stuff like that. All of that is really important. And one of them is saying, 25 minutes of hard work, 5 minutes of break. Because when people say they multitask and they're really proud of it, I'm a good multitasker, you are something like 35%, I don't know, again, if I'm making that up, but I think it was in the 30% less productive than if you took one task, do 25 minutes at that task, turn everything off, 25 minutes, then 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Because when you're multitasking, you think you're doing, but you're just half-assing everything.
Yeah, the human brain can't actually multitask. It can only do bounce between two things very badly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for agents listening, yes, learn more about estate agency, listen to podcasts like this, but also do the self-development where your mindset can be better and the way that you see things is better, and that you're reading those books and those listening to the audio books and stuff like that. Because if you get better, then one of the quotes I heard, which is really quite true, your bank balance will never out-earn your personal growth. So don't expect your bank balance to become really high if you can't be bothered to even self-develop. That goes hand in hand. But that also, if you're going to run an estate agency business, any kind of business you're going to run yourself, you have to put that self-development in to better yourself so you can do better at your job, and then the money will come. It all comes together. So if you are that person going, I want the 100K job, I want it to be an easy, quick win, this is not the job for you, unfortunately. It's not a quick win.
That's got his notebook out again.
Agents, listen, you want to work in these 250 grand a year roles, you got to think about your personal growth.
So from the sublime to the ridiculous, Marie, we have a closing tradition on our podcast where everyone, whether they know it or not, has a porn star name. We are property porn stars after all, and it is comprised of your middle name and your first pet's name. But you don't have a middle name.
I don't have a middle name, although my first name is double-barreled. So for the people who don't know, I am French-Canadian. My name is double-barreled and it's French. It's Marie-Pierre. So it sounds better in French than in English, which is why I just go by Marie. Yeah. So I'll take Pierre as my middle name. And then I had a bird called Rafi. So my porn star name is Pierre Rafi.
Matt, do you want to just repeat that for a second?
Pierre Rafi?
Pierre Rafi. But you have to say it in French.
Oh, that was beautiful.
With the French twang.
I wouldn't back myself to do it. I will take that. That's probably the most artistic one we've had today.
You've been a brilliant guest. I've sat here riveted, making lots of notes, and I'm sure other people listening will have done as well.
I mean, certainly, I've never seen Matt take as many notes as he has today.
Thank
Do you know what the funny
Always
thing is
learn.
with this podcast? It was never something that we'd done intentionally per se, but is that it seems like every guest has come out with one really strong lesson, one really strong theme, one really strong subject. And yours has been obviously all about mindset. Don't need to tell anyone that.
Really enjoyed it.
Conversations that you and I have had, especially over the past few weeks, I've said to you even before today, like your mindset is just absolutely unbelievable, and I've got so much admiration for it. And I love working with you as well. So
Thank you.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm
Canadians
going to
are very
take
nice.
I'm going to take this one little second for anybody who is looking in Northamptonshire or Peterborough, Oundle kind of area. If you are looking to potentially become an estate agent in the high end, please get in touch because I am hiring. Probably in the next few months, I want to get a few people on board.
Matt and I are going to apply.
I'm in.
I'll mentor you so you can make good money, but you have to have the right belief system first.
Okay,
Values
Great
well.
culture.
So Marie, thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
joining us
No,
today.
thank you for having me.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of Property Porn Stars. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed recording it with Marie. And as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, download, comment, and let us know of any amazing guests like Marie that we can invite onto the podcast next.
Absolutely.
See you in the next episode.